Welcome to the Arrow Podcast. Today with me, I have Kimberly Buk. Excited to have you here today. I'm going to learn a lot about you, and I'm glad that you're able to make some time with us today. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is a nice little shake-up.
Cool. Yeah, you're on the other side.
I know. It's nice. Flip the script on me.
Yep, exactly. All right, roll the intro. So I actually know you like a decent amount, right? And I want to get my audience to know a little bit more about you. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what you do, what you've been up to, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So like you, I grew up in Monmouth County. I'm in New Jersey for my whole life. And I kind of found my passion when I was in college. They tell you to go out.
Monmouth University.
I went to Monmouth,
right.
yeah, and
awesome.
I was linked up with a few great internships. So at the age of like 18, I was out there in the city going to Fox 5, ABC 7. And the funny thing is about being an intern is you get paid like $10 a day, and that barely gets you a cup of coffee. We know that.
Right. Yes.
When you love what you do, to the point where you're waking up, you're going on a bus, you're getting there, you're working for free, and you still love what you do, that means you're in the right line of work.
Right, yes,
So
yeah.
My parents told me that since I've been in the baby carriage, I've been interviewing people. So I kind of found my way early, but
awesome.
I've really come to love this business, and it's not just TV. I mean, as you know, we've expanded. Now it's voiceover, it's talk radio, it's commercials, it's content. That's the world we live in.
Yep,
So
yep.
I'm kind of an all-encompassing journalist, host, reporter, producer.
Right. Awesome.
Creative.
Yes, you're creative. Definitely.
Yeah.
I've seen your stuff, for years, and we finally hooked up, I guess 6 months ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And, it's been great, our dialogue since.
Yes.
So, Monmouth U, you went journalism major? Is that what
Yes.
you were? Okay, cool. And then after school, like, what was your first move? What did you get into?
So you graduate and you're like, you're kind of just feeling like a little stuck,
Right.
And in this field, I'm not sure if many of you know this, but you really have to get that first job by moving to like East Bumble. You're going to take that $20,000 job and you're going to move away from your family, and that's how it usually goes. But I got really fortunate. It was like a right time, right place move. I went to Career Day at Monmouth University, and I found out that there was a TV startup station that opened up in Freehold, the town I grew up in. So a mile down from my parents' house, there was a brand new TV station.
Interesting.
And I turned out to be their very first hire.
Oh, wow.
And this was,
what's the station?
This was Me TV.
Okay.
So going back, it was I Love Lucy, MASH, Chips.
Oh, no shit. Okay.
But we did their news. And I was hired to do promotions. I never did a day of promotions there. I became their senior producer.
Wow.
Did 3 shows on my own. We won Emmys.
Wow.
I was on every show, and that's where I learned from the mentors there, because it was a startup.
Right.
So 8 years I worked for this company, doing it all.
Wow, that's a long run.
8 years.
That's great.
And it was great as a 20-year-old because you're learning so many different things. You're wearing many hats, and you're saving,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I grew with the company, and then once they sold, that's when I decided I have like a Rolodex here, and I decided to start my own company.
Right, okay.
So that's kind of how.
Bad transition.
Yeah, and you know
Wow.
what? 8 to 10 years goes by really fast when you love what you do.
Right. Yeah. No,
So,
it's wild.
yeah.
So you won Emmys, huh? I didn't know that.
Yes, I'll tell you. So the reasons why we won Emmys was because we decided to do at Monmouth University, which is funny that we go back to where we came from. We did a town hall, 500-person audience on the heroin crisis.
Okay.
So this epidemic comes to our area, it hits home. Most people that have been dealing with substance abuse in some way, and we just hit it, right at the forefront. So we had 500 people in the audience, and I was production manager of this heroin crisis town hall. And before you know it, we were in New York City, and we were invited to the Emmys, and we all went home with hardware.
Wow,
2
that's
times.
crazy.
Yeah,
That is
so
awesome.
It was really,
So what year is this?
This was 2016 was the first one, 2018.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So
awesome.
it was really nice and very humbling. In my family and in my husband's family, we've both dealt with loved ones very close to us that passed from substance abuse.
Got it.
So it's still something that I'm very passionate about,
Right.
and I feel that they're needs to be a conversation about it to remove
Right.
the stigma. So
Definitely. Yeah.
get in front of it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's one of the reasons why I asked what year it was, because like, it's weird how like certain drugs are popular through,
Yes.
certain times. And, but no, that's interesting. That's
Yeah.
cool. Very, very cool.
Thank you.
So when you left Monmouth, did you feel like you were, well armed to get into the workforce? Because like, when I graduated, I was kind of like, I was jaded because I felt like I didn't learn enough when I got into my first job. My first boss taught me like everything,
It's funny how you have to learn hands-on.
You really do. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
like you learn like the platforms and the technology and
You get a piece of paper.
Yes.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? That's your degree is.
And then you're like, wow, I have to actually work and do and apply this now. And it's just like every job is not exactly what college was about, So.
Yeah, and then also you learn your worth. Like I remember my first job offer, I didn't even rebuttal. Like
Right,
I didn't
yes.
even ask for a penny more.
Yeah.
I was like, yep, I'm in.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. But with what to your point, if you have an opportunity and you find what you love, or on the other end, if you completely despise what you're doing,
Right.
you learn by being in the field.
Right.
Monmouth set me up, on the other side of the coin with great internships.
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
So it was that hands-on before I even graduated.
Right.
Whereas, sometimes you don't get to step into that, environment
Yeah.
until afterward.
Yep.
It's scary.
Yeah. Yep. So I was on the communications council at Monmouth U.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for a handful of years. I think it was 2014, 15, 16, and 17 that I was on there. And one of my goals was to get students to have more internships, because when I was there, like I got an internship on my own, but there wasn't any like help, at
Yes.
Monmouth. So
I find that so many students, even there still, reach out to me and they say, do you know of any internships? So something there must be some kind of a divide.
right.
You know,
There's not enough
resources.
Correct.
Yeah.
I feel like there's probably not enough. There's definitely a lot of companies out there, but not enough coming to the table asking for help. And then there's probably not enough like guidance counselors pushing for internships, for their students as well.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying
why
to
having a mentor is like the best thing
100%
to advocate for you.
Yep, it really is.
Yeah.
Truly is. So, okay, so you did that for 8 years. You started your own thing. Tell me the kind of work that you do, on your own now.
Sure. So my company is KJ Media and Consulting. It was an LLC, and now I'm an S corp. So I'm like figuring that
All right,
all
you're
out. I'm not a
fancy.
business person at all, but I know this business.
Yep.
The reason for the name is because my husband is basically like a manager to me too. He's
Okay.
very helpful. He's like my agent, like always finding
Nice.
me work when he's out in the field. And he's Kyle John, so we're both KJ.
Okay.
And so KJ Media and Consulting, I do everything from, if there's, I've hosted pageants, I've hosted health summits, business summits. Basically, if there's an organization that's looking for a brand ambassador, if it's a company, an organization I align with their values,
Right.
that's something that I'm very interested in doing.
Great.
But the news is where everybody kind of knows me
You.
from.
Right. Yes.
Local TV news in New York, Philly, and New Jersey, and that's kind of my bread and butter.
Right. So I know News 12.
Yeah.
Right. So I've
They're
seen
great.
Yeah. I've seen
We
News
love them.
12.
Yeah.
And how long were you doing stuff with News 12? Is it ever since you started your consulting?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It all happened pretty much, when you're finding yourself, everything happens for a reason.
Right.
For whatever reason, something told me after I left MeTV, something told me not to like put all my eggs in one basket.
Yep.
It was a really big decision for me, Chris. Like I was like, do I take that full-time job in the
Right.
city, running and gunning, losing like so many hours of my personal life? Do I do that, or do I take a chance on me
Right.
and creating my own business? Like I like storytelling, but that doesn't mean just going out and telling the news.
Right.
Storytelling means that you could do a variety of that. Like,
Yep.
why not go to the place, that mom and pop business, and take a deep dive on what they do,
Yep.
sit down and interview them, do it my way,
Right.
rather than, be on a tight deadline.
Right.
So that, to answer your question, News 12 came in just in time because they're one of my great clients. So that's where like that news component comes into my business.
Right. Yep.
So it's a great little it's a great partnership we have.
Yep. Yeah. So I've seen you, both on TV and a lot on social, right? Very active in social and interviewing a lot of different brands and businesses and small businesses. I think like what you bring to the table, just from an outsider's perspective and somebody who has an eye in marketing, obviously, is definitely a lot of personality, and you get to the little golden nuggets that exist within each organization and extract them for people to actually, learn more about the brands, which is great.
Yes, it's
And
great.
Sometimes brand owners, especially small businesses, businesses don't have a personality or a loud voice, right?
I didn't want to be the one to say it, but I'm glad you did.
Right?
It's a big thing where people sometimes they have that they'll have that like little gem, that nugget, like you said,
Right, yeah.
where it's a family business. Oh, they went through, really big hardships, but they don't really have the tools to tell the story.
Correct, yeah.
So that's where sometimes I come in. Or sometimes it's testimonials, right? Like businesses that are, we were just talking a moment ago about like mental health and, physical health.
Right.
Talking to those people who have been 100% better after utilizing a certain business or product.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Right. And then interviewing them. So it's all very, that's a part of my passion.
Yep, definitely. No, I think it's great what you're doing, and just bringing awareness in general to the community. Monmouth County specifically. About all these brands and all the good things that they're doing. So it's awesome.
Thank you.
So, is there a different are there types of businesses you like dealing with over other types, or is it pretty much you'll help anybody that you think aligns with your moral compass, so to speak?
So I think it kind of runs the gamut. I do. I work with the Girl Scouts. I've worked with pageants. I've worked with doctors. A great thing that I love to eat.
Okay, me too.
We have a lot of good food here in Monmouth and Ocean County.
Yeah.
So one of the things I love to do is go to.
Your Insta's always like,
oh my
sick
God,
food, sick meals.
And it was so funny.
Like,
so I actually, like we were just talking about, I just had a baby on Valentine's Day, and leading up to, thank you, but the leading up to having the baby, I was out in the field interviewing chefs and tasting foods and desserts and cooking in the back.
Loving
That's
life.
a great part of my business.
Yes.
And when you're 9 months pregnant, it's all you want to do.
Yep.
So that's another big part of my business is like going to different like David Burke's restaurants and cooking with him. And there's just so much to be covered.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's like there's so much storytelling to do. So that's part of what I love.
Yeah, there really is. And you can really go a mile deep once you build a relationship with a brand, and they can just keep on bringing you back for more and more, right? So that's great.
And we talked about home improvement stuff too. That's another whole part of the business.
Right, yeah. So like some examples of that stuff, right? Like right now you're on the other side of the table, right?
Yeah. Still getting used to it.
You're getting the questions asked as opposed to asking the questions. You're going to these places, you're interviewing. Like what kind of interviews do you do outside of, just food and some small businesses? Is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's like the bigger ones are people like, I have a good friend of mine whose son is, he has a terminal illness.
Okay.
And he runs a charity called Jar of Hope.
Okay.
So that's like a completely different part of my business is working with, a charity, like a nonprofit. Those are the very ones that, kind of tug at my heartstrings.
Right.
So, it's not limited to just like the mom and pop shops, home improvement services. Of course, everyone loves dining out, but sometimes it actually is that story that's, that one child that was saved, or like the Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Right.
Those are the kinds of stories that really, at the end of the day, like you go to bed at night and you're like, wow, I'm really glad I got to tell that story.
100%.
You know?
Yep. And you're also involved in events too, right? Like
Yes.
this event coming up in the fall.
Yes,
right?
yes. It's so nice that you brought that up. So that's kind of like we table it, but then it's like before you know it, it's here.
Time flies fast. Yep.
Yeah. So this is going to be our second annual summit. It's Elevate Leadership, and this year it's going to be expanded. Our group is going to be a larger audience. We're going to be at Bellworks in Homedale. Okay. And I'd love to come on with Jeff Masson one day to talk about the event and the specifics. But it's basically about getting people to, to hear from some panelists. Revolutionize, that's a nutrition fitness group. There's someone that comes on to talk about their, meeting your goals, fitness and nutrition. I'll leave that all to the professionals, by the way. Yeah. They'll all do their piece and talk about it. But it's basically a networking event where people can, brush elbows, kind of exchange business cards. But it is kind of like that TED Talk style conversation. And it's hosted by Jeff Masson, who's a life coach.
That's great.
So it's basically like if you want to level up your career, if you're at a crossroads, you should be there.
Nice, awesome. And it's so it's
and I
just
host it, so that's part.
So
of
that's even better.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I host that thing, and I'm not a panelist because I don't feel. These people sitting in those seats, there's a reason why they're there. I'm just kind of orchestrating it.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're awesome though.
And so, is it just for business owners to attend, or is it?
No, it's for the graduate. It's for the people that don't know where they want to go. It's for the people that feel jaded.
Right.
Maybe they're not. Maybe they're putting in their all and they're not getting a return on their investment.
Right.
It's basically for those who want to level up, or if they're, if you're at that unfortunate like midlife crisis. It's a mix for everyone. There's a seat for everybody there.
Got it. Very cool. Is there like sponsors for that event? Or
Yes,
okay.
there are sponsorship opportunities, which, again, I'd like to point to Jeff to talk to you about that.
Okay.
But we'll chat about it another time as it gets closer.
Awesome. The Arrow Podcast is brought to you by CMDS, a business breakthrough agency helping brands reinvent and reignite themselves at the core. We work with B2B companies to help them figure out how they're unique and remarkable in their own space, then leverage that information to build great websites, awesome social media strategies, and leadership content that's going to drive more brand awareness to their company. If you're looking to learn more about how we can help you achieve extreme business growth, please reach out to CMDS at 732-706-5555, or you can visit us online at cmdsonline.com. I took a look at your website. What's your web address that we can point people to and get them to see and learn more about you?
So for anybody that wants to reach me, I'm all over social media, and I try to keep it consistent.
Yep.
You could reach me at Kimberly Buk TV, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And then my website is KimberlyJadeBuck.com.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. So if somebody was to go on your website and see your list of services, what might they find there?
So if there's something for everybody. If you're a business owner and you are one of those people that like you feel like your business is kind of like at a standstill and you need that extra boost, maybe that's something you want to touch base with me about. Maybe we could get you on the news. You know what I mean? That's usually how the conversation starts. And sometimes I do get them on the news, but other times it's like, let's take a more, cohesive look at this and how we could really talk about boosting your business.
Right.
If you're a student and you need some consulting, how do I get into the field?
Right.
How do I break into journalism?
Yep.
That's where people utilize me too. So I, in a sense, am like a journalist
there's a big
coach.
market for that, for sure.
Yes, and it's something I like to give back too.
Right.
To not only Monmouth folk, but anyone that's joining, journalism, in that line of work. And then lastly, if you are somebody that is hosting an event and you are looking for a host or an MC, that's where people lean on me.
That's great.
So
awesome. Okay.
And I'm also like a big mouthpiece. Wherever I am, I try to tell people,
about.
Yeah, right. I like to share where I am and the work I'm doing, because sometimes it brings out a bunch of people that would have never joined otherwise. So
Right. Very cool. Lots of awesome stuff. So now, social media, you're pretty active. You have a few accounts on social, right? Do you have, so it looks like you have another business talking about, is beauty? Is that?
Yeah, so it's funny. So years ago, I think there's a really important, for women especially, professional, personal, you want to separate the two. And about 10 years ago, I started a blog where I was working with different companies, whether it be skincare or wellness, and they would send me product to try, and they would want an honest review. This was before TikTok and Amazon influencers and all that. But I started this account because I didn't want it to be mudding up my news persona.
Right. Yep.
But I am, at the end of the day, I'm a woman. I love to eat. I love to try new things, skincare, learning about it all.
Right.
I'm also into fitness. So I use that Be Barely Beautiful page. And the reason that it's called Be Barely Beautiful is because it's about inner beauty.
Right. Okay.
So it's not about,
great.
There's so many things that people are doing now at Medi Spas and changing up their look.
Right.
It's really all about the
100%,
inner
yes.
you and who you're meant to be.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
And it's a
100%.
big women's empowerment page.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, good for you. And I think there's this book called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's really, really good. It changed my life. I recommend that book to a lot of people, but it talks about, acting as if you are and you will be what you act as, if that makes sense, right? And and I'm simplifying it by saying that because it's actually really you have to go through it a few times to really understand and grasp all the concepts.
Sure.
I had let a friend borrow it, and he read it. He was like, "Wow, it's really good. I need to get another listen, another read." But it talks about one of the examples is how this guy had gotten a nose job because he felt he wasn't attractive, and they actually did this thing where they hypnotized him to think he had gotten a nose job, and his demeanor and attitude changed. He got a girlfriend immediately.
Oh
he had
my
trouble
God,
getting a girlfriend.
that's
and it's
crazy.
all about just his own perception of himself, right? And so that is everything. How we think and or feel about ourselves really is.
Yeah.
But definitely check that book out, Psycho-Cybernetics. Yeah, it's really cool. But it's all about that, and how who we are, is really about how we feel and or perceive ourselves.
Right.
And by changing your perception, you can be anything.
Exactly. Just mindset's everything.
Mindset is everything,
Yeah.
100%. So, you talked about separating the two. And you mentioned that you had just had a baby,
Yes.
right? That's crazy. So a month and a half ago, right?
Yeah.
You don't have any
Time
baby
flies.
weight on you
Oh,
whatsoever.
God.
It
You
totally
could
just
tell I'm
came
an
to the
Energizer bunny.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it is so crazy, Chris, because I would say I'm 33 now. So when I was 23, it was like I'm so career driven.
Yep.
I couldn't have cared less about like finding the right guy, you
Right.
know. And then it wasn't until, I was 28 that like the stars aligned.
Yep.
My husband and I met. We were instant
I think
like
that's probably around my age too. It's 28 when that
it's
happened.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And things, they come at the right time. I believe that I met my husband when I did because I was so career oriented.
Right.
And so is he. So when we met, we were kind of like a force. Like the two of us were really very similar and aligned. But it's unbelievable how like years ago I was like, I don't even feel like a maternal person.
Right.
Like I can't even see myself with kids because I was so career oriented. But when you find love and the right partner, and now
just
this
happens,
little boy
yeah.
is like, he's my twin too, which is the
Oh,
craziest thing. I mean,
really?
we're literally like spitting image of each other.
I
but
saw him as a baby, and they change so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Like freshly born, I saw the picture.
he's so expressive and very
Okay.
curious, just like
Okay.
his mom.
Nice.
But it's just so sweet. Like he's just this little. He's a Valentine's Day baby. His name is Carter Chase.
That's great.
And
That's
he is
awesome.
just he's really like a true sweet boy.
Awesome.
And he's letting Mama go out and work today.
Nice.
So I can't wait to go and see him later on.
That's great.
Yeah.
So
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. You have a beautiful family.
Thank you.
No, so it's
It's
really
the
great
first
to see.
boy on our whole side.
Is it really?
The whole side. Like we
Wow.
don't have any boys, so he's our little prince.
There you go. So he's
So-
going to get all the attention.
He might, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So luckily, mom and dad are right in Freehold.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So that's close by.
And I have my mother and father-in-law who are 6 minutes away from our house. So.
Oh, that is awesome.
Oh, they're the
That's
best.
great.
Yeah,
That-
I am very fortunate.
You are, for sure. Don't forget about date nights. Go out with your husband. I told you about
Yes,
that, right?
you did.
You
Yes.
have to go out no matter what. I know it's like early.
You're in
Yeah.
my head,
Yeah.
We have the Time Tree app,
Okay.
and we literally have date nights in there.
Awesome,
No matter
good.
what it is.
Good.
You
Yeah,
know,
great.
it's important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I told you that. We
You
might
did.
schedule that with my wife,
Yes,
right? Date night,
it's
get a
so.
sitter.
It was like when we met. It was like one thing I really took away from the
That
conversation.
conversation? Yeah.
Because it's the key to a successful marriage
100%,
and
yeah.
keeping that, your partnership. So
Right.
once the crying baby's in the background, it's hard to connect.
It really
so,
is because like your attention then goes to the baby
Yes.
and it's like all about the child.
I know.
And then, it's what's interesting is like, so my daughter's 17, going to go to college next year. My son is 14, so he's a freshman and they're off doing their own thing now. And, my wife and I have been good about connecting and staying connected for a long time. But now more than ever, we have a lot more time
Empty
together.
nesters almost? Yeah.
Almost, yeah. We're still a few. Don't rush it. We're still a few away, but it's
it.
getting crazy because you're like, wow, it's just going to be me and you now. And
Yeah.
we'll start talking more so about like, all right, where do we want to retire? What are we going to do?
God,
that
this
kind of
is
stuff.
crazy, right?
Yeah, it's wild. It really is strange. So,
Well, you know what? That's why, like, life has a funny way of like working out. Like, maybe this is the time to talk about getting another property. You know what I mean? Or
Oh, right,
like,
yeah, yep.
making a DIY or a big project or something that you never thought about
Right.
doing
Oh,
together.
right. Yes. And so our hobbies, well, she loves the gym, super fit. She's there like at least 5 days a week.
Oh, that's great. Good
3
for
hours
her.
a day. She's probably stronger than I am right now.
Oh God.
She's ripped, she's great shape. She loves the gym. So, with work, I don't have the time to go to the gym at the same time she does. You know,
Yep.
I'll do either early morning and then, and she can't doesn't want to train that early. She has her
Yeah.
own crew too. So she hangs out with a bunch of people at the gym. So that's nice. But, I see like if I were to ever retire, doing the gym sessions with her and spending more
100%.
time with her that way, we used to go on Sundays together. But there's just so much going on too. It's like
I
really
completely
hard.
get
And
it.
I'm all about prioritizing things I want, so
know.
it's like, hard to do both.
I know.
So
It's so nice that you made an attempt to work out together because sometimes,
Yep.
like I was saying earlier, how working out, like that's the mental part of it is almost more important to me than anything. And
100%,
sometimes
it
it
really
means
is.
alone time.
yes. Yeah. Yep.
Catching up.
Yep. Yeah. No, for sure. And I'll put on, I'll put on a podcast or, listen to a book when I'm at the gym and stuff like that too. But sometimes it's even better like when I'm not listening to anything,
Yeah.
so I could just like
Get in the zone.
clear my mind
Yeah.
and just do what I'm doing.
100%.
That's so much nicer in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And you deserve it. You work really hard.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So now, what are the plans for the future, you just had a baby, you're not going anywhere, you're still going to be in the workforce, you're going to be all over the place, being Kimberly, crushing it. Is there any big goals that you have for 2025? Anything like from a business perspective or personal that you want to try to crush? You know, obviously
2025 is a big year, by the way.
Yeah,
it's like
is.
we're really, I mean, if you really look at the year, I mean, this is a year we're all going to look back on. So I do have many new goals. One of the ones that I would love to see work out, and I'm not sure when or how it will work out, but I love the QVC HSN world. I think that I have, my dad's a jeweler.
Okay.
We come from a family of jewelers.
Okay.
And twice a year I help Dad with 2 trade shows, one in Vegas and one in Miami.
Oh, that's fun.
It's a blast, and
Wow.
I'm a daddy's girl, and we're really close. So even, like,
Do you have a sister?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Ashley is a powerhouse. She has her own registered dietitian practice
That's right.
in Manalapan.
Yep.
So because I have my own business too, it helps me kind of like take the week and help out Dad.
Right.
And I enjoy it so much, but that sales technique that I kind of learned through the jewelry business, just talking to people.
Right.
I would love to take that skill set and couple it with my media training.
Right.
And I'd love to work with like QVC or HSN, even just as part of my business.
Yeah.
So that's a big goal of mine.
Okay.
And again, I'm not sure when that will all develop, but that's something that I'm kind of working on.
Okay. Do you have a connection or an in there?
So I know the person that does the casting, and I have,
Okay.
an agent who's trying to work behind the scenes, but it might not be something that maybe happens in my 30s. It might be
Yep.
something for later on, but that's something that I have my sights set on. Unfortunately, politics kind of changed how I feel about, journalism a little bit.
Right.
I've done some stuff on both sides. And unfortunately, that's why I didn't want to put, like I said, all my eggs in one basket, because then you're kind of leaning one way
Right.
politically. And
Especially over the past 6-7 years. It's
yeah,
like,
I did a fun panel for Newsmax.
Okay.
This was like 3 years ago. And we all met at this great Italian restaurant, and we did a panel. But it was all, it's a Republican-leaning, very conservative station. And when I did it, I felt great about the conversation. I loved how it all came out. But I did get some, of my opposing friends kind of giving me some flack about it.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that, I just want to try to avoid
Right.
with
I
my
hear you.
business. Keep
Right.
it all down the straight of the aisle. And,
Right.
That's
That's a challenge because you had no ill intent or anything, right?
We were just having a conversation.
Right, exactly.
So that's why if you're asking my goals, I think that my goals from maybe 5-10 years ago, I went to the conventions, the presidential conventions they're a riot. They're really, that's as political as you can get.
Right.
I enjoyed it, but my
So you went to the presidential election?
yes,
events.
both of them,
Wow.
and they're really, it's a wealth of knowledge. Just
Yeah.
being there, the energy.
Right.
Running around with all the lobbyists and the commentators. It's
Right. High energy.
yeah. I mean, and you have the two people running against each other there.
Right.
So it was a really pivotal moment of my career. But to be honest, now I don't really see myself being as political as I maybe thought I would have been
Right.
as a journalist years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
So times have changed. I have too.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, so I think you're definitely going to crush it, and you'll get there. I mean, you're still young. You're still early 30s, right? 30,
Yeah, not a
30,
spring
34?
chicken, but
Right. So I mean, a lot happens in a couple of years, right?
Yes,
So,
100%.
So you'll definitely get that. And then personally, what are your plans? Just be an awesome mom. I mean, that's
thank
the
you.
biggest job in the world, really.
it really
right?
is.
So,
It's literally the most fulfilling job.
Yep.
People have asked me how I'm, adhering to the new schedule. And newborns, by the way, they don't know night from day.
No,
So
they
we have
don't.
a
Yes,
we have a cutie little night owl on our hands.
Okay.
So we're up all night. But people have been asking me how are you and Kyle adjusting? And the point is, I mean, we're a huge proponent of being a team. So, even though, there's nursing and all of that, but my husband wanted to be involved with the feeding. So he's been, we've made it work where he's able to help me so much.
Right,
But
that's great.
when I tell you waking up at 2 a.m. and then 4 a.m. and then, running on no sleep, it's no issue for me
okay.
because
Right.
I realize this is my child and
Right.
he is everything to us. But I think it's also my crazy work schedule that has helped me
Right.
get
Well, yeah,
there.
you're up super early for
Yeah,
news stories and stuff like that.
yes,
every once in a while,
sometimes I'm out the door for 3 a.m.
Right, yeah.
So I'm kind of used to it, but we do plan, God willing, to have another.
Okay.
So that would be our plans for next year.
Oh, wow.
Once
So
Carter's
you're
a
gonna
little
get it done.
bigger.
There you
Yeah,
go.
again, not a spring chicken,
Right.
but yeah, God willing, we would love
Yeah.
to have a family of 4.
That's great. Awesome.
4 of us. So.
Wow, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's what we have. Yeah.
Yes, and
Yeah.
a girl and a boy.
A girl and a boy
which
too,
is
right?
The best.
We just need the picket fence.
I know. Love it. But yeah, so of course, how do you manage it all?
Yeah.
being a professional, running your business, juggling, the house, keeping everything organized,
Right. Yep.
seeing your family. It's really rough, but this is like, I thrive on this energy.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is like the best moments of your life.
It really is. Truly is. So how did you meet Kyle?
So Kyle and I, God, I wish he was here telling this story. We have a funny background. When I tell you that the two of us, we were praying on the same star. Like, when you're just at a lull with your dating, like no one is working for you,
Yes.
like you are not impressed.
I was there. I gave up, and then I found my wife.
That's exactly what happened. And Kyle will tell you, like, if you watch our wedding video in the vows, he literally says, I prayed to my mom. I cried to my mom. I literally, he was like, I was done with the dating apps. And then just before he stopped, he met me. And funny enough, my girlfriend, she had a bad breakup. And she was like, I'm joining Hinge, but I'm not doing it by myself. So she had me join. I was on there for one day.
And that's how you met him?
Well, I mean, when you're on there for one day, you get like a lot of flooding of messages.
Okay.
But my husband was one of them, and we have always been in each other's circles. I'm from Freehold, he's from Howell.
Okay.
So we have a lot of mutual friends.
All right. Did you meet him before that or no?
We never actually met.
Oh, wow. That's
So
wild.
it's a little bit like,
Yeah.
spooky, but we ended up, he asked me out. We really connected immediately. And same sense of humor, like literally finishing each other's sentences. And then
Right.
when we met, it was like, I texted my mom. I was like, oh my God, like I think I met my husband. And that's
Wow.
literally
That's
how
wild.
it went. And you know what the best part was? We met the week the country closed.
Oh,
COVID.
wow. Jesus Christ.
So when everyone
It's a
was,
hard time to get together. And
when you're like, trying to like obey social distancing and like not
Right.
be around people, like we were able to connect like back to basics.
Right.
Like we were like
talking.
getting to know one another. And
Right.
like, I guess it kind of escalated our relationship quicker because like there were no restaurants.
Right.
So we went out on one true date, and then our second date turned into like, okay, we're cooking tonight. You know what I mean?
Right,
So you
right.
become like really like, it's like a fast track, but
Right.
no sports, no distractions, no gyms.
Right.
And we still made it and
There
thrived.
you go.
So,
That's awesome.
So yeah, we really are an anomaly.
good. Yeah.
And 5 years in.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And
Yeah.
it's great that he gets to help out,
Oh yeah. And he had 1 week of paternity leave.
Oh, really?
He's as much of a workaholic as I am.
And what does he do for work?
He works for a medical laboratory
Right.
as a
Yeah.
sales rep.
That's
So,
right.
yes, formerly BioReference, and now
Right.
he's working with AccuReference Laboratories
That's right.
in Linden.
Yep.
So
Awesome.
he is just absolutely killing it, and I'm so proud of him.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you really have your life together. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
And congratulations again on your kid.
Thank
and
you.
if anybody would like to get in touch with Kimberly for some help growing their business or maybe even getting a spot on 12, please feel free to reach out to her. And thank you so much for being on
Absolutely.
the podcast.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
so much.
Yeah,
This was
it's
great.
Great to have you.
Thank you.